Have you ever been looking for an amazing queer cam performer? Well, I got you covered. You should check out TS Cami. Her super hot content is on Chatterbait, Twitter, Xhamster, and Reddit. Support this rad trans femme. Everyone, welcome to the Performers Pod. I'm Chelsea Poe. I'm here today with multi-time award nominee, internationally screening filmmaker, and in my opinion, queer poet and icon, Ramses Rodstein. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thank you for having me on.
I feel like we've gone so far back in queer porn. I felt like I hung out with you the week I got here.
Yeah, that's pretty much accurate.
Yeah, when I was a complete baby. I think we first met. Did we meet like that Pride before at Queerly Beloved, maybe?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I'm trying. Man, it's been like what, like 12 years?
It's
I
been
feel
like
like
10 years. It's ridiculous.
I know.
But there was just like such a big porn community going on at the time in the Bay Area. I've talked about it a lot on here, both what was going on at Kink and the queer porn scene. And I've kind of always known you being here. I know you're originally from SoCal, but how did you kind of get involved? Because I don't think I ever asked, because when I came in, I was like, everyone's here and established. I'm the new kid in school, kind of, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I moved up to the Bay, like almost like basically I started my porn career when I moved up here, and it kind of happened accidentally. Like I don't know like how to explain that, but my good friend Jade Phillips wanted to get involved in porn. I was like, well, then just shoot it. Like, just start making your own content. And like, I'm a filmmaker first and foremost. Like, before
Mm-hmm.
I got into like erotic filmmaking, and like, I was like, let's. If you want to be in porn, you just should shoot it. And I think
Mm-hmm.
I think honestly, the first time I did any porn whatsoever was with Jade Phillips, and we were hanging out with a couple of other folks. I'm trying to remember who was there. I think we were hanging out at his house, and then
Was this in Oakland,
uh,
I'm assuming?
yeah, this was in Oakland, and we were just hanging out, a bunch of us queer sex workers, just like chilling. And like I remember Morty Diamond being there. It was like a little like party hangout, and I think Jade brought up about like wanting to get in porn. I was like, like actually Morty's film was the first porn I saw that like actually inspired me to want to do porn, was because it showcased like queer trans people of color
Mm-hmm.
like doing BDSM. And so, and I'm trying to remember, it was the scene that Morty did of Poppy Cox.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you know which one I'm talking about?
I think so.
it's it's been
I
a minute.
always I always think it's so funny you have to delineate the poppycocks, the either femme or the mask poppycocks from that era.
Yeah.
The mask one, I'm
This,
assuming.
yeah, this is the mask Afro Latino puppy cat.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to remember it'll come to me. Um, but we basically just went into his room, into Jade Phillips' room, and start shooting porn. Like Morty got behind the camera and was like, all right, let's do this. And I think, Jacques LaFemme was there too. And
Oh,
like, yeah, Jacques LaFemme. Who else was hanging out with us? Bianca Stone. Maybe I'm trying to think if it was
these
if
are like
Nikki.
such like big names for like that era of queer porn too. Like those are the people who like I watched before I moved out here, and I was like, they're a porn star. Like they're the biggest porn star in my eyes.
Yeah, I think we were just hanging out by the pool and like dropping acid, and like we were like, okay, let's do some porn, you know. But I'm trying to remember. I can't remember the exact details, but I do know remember Morty was there, Bianca, and Jade Phillips for sure. And I think the scene I'm referencing that I saw was called Trans Entities. That that was shot by Morty Diamond. So
I
if
think
you
I
want to check that
remember
out,
that.
yeah, it was. I thought it was cool. Like I had dabbled a little bit in BDSM back in LA, but the scene was very cis and white. And
For sure.
so it made it hard for me to feel comfortable like getting involved. I kind of like started practicing like rope bondage and that was like my like gateway to kink was like bondage, like
Hmm.
actually like tying people up and like practicing knots on myself. But I quickly got involved into other things and discovered other sides of kink that like I really enjoyed. And I'm finding myself that doing more of that more in my erotic work. So it's funny to think back all the way like 12 years ago, like, oh shit, like yeah.
So that was like
So,
2011 when you started performing here?
like yeah, 2012,
Okay.
2013 actually. So maybe a little bit more. I don't know. Let's see, it's like 10 years ago now. But yeah, it's been a minute. And then, you know, like I started when we met, like then we've shot some things together
For
and did
sure.
stuff with Courtney.
Yeah. And
And
then I feel like Crash Pad's always a thing that everyone's going on every year or two, where that I feel like just kind of
yeah,
becomes part of it too. Um, yeah, and then I think we were in like
yeah,
the FTM fucker movie, Trans Boys and Trans Girls, which I think is like vastly underrated.
yeah, James.
Yeah, that was such a good movie. It's just so
Yeah,
crazy to me in some ways, like that all this stuff was here and this many people were making porn here.
yeah. I mean, it was a different time. Like a lot of us, like I remember when I moved up here, like you could rent a room for $400, you know, and like
Yeah,
some co-op or like shared space. And now, like I think what really changed the demographic of San Francisco is just like the tech industry really booming and
yeah,
like really gentrifying the area and pushing a lot of like artists and independent sex workers out. And I think
yeah,
like the real big catalyst was probably Fosta Sesta, like shit
yeah,
going
for
down and like
real.
really making it hard for people to create content. Yeah.
And there's just like a lack of sex
It's
worker spaces now. I feel like too, like that the center of sex and culture is gone is so sad to me. Like,
yeah, a lot of iconic places are gone. Like even social places like the stud.
yeah,
And then
the
like
Lexington
so
is
much is like
gone.
what is left?
Right. I
Yeah.
feel like honestly, I live in SF now, and every time I just like go past these places, it feels like a ghost of some of that stuff where I'm like, I did my first gangbang there, and now it's just empty. It like makes me really sad.
Yeah, I know. But you know, it's like it's good to know that like there's folks still trying to make stuff happen.
Hmm.
And I think as for me, like I think I had to like take a little break for a little bit at some point just to like reassess. You know, like I with any kind of work that involves a lot of your own energy in your
Hmm.
body, like sometimes you need to take a break to do whatever healing you need to do or any like growth. And so
For
I did
real.
take a little bit of a hiatus and then um came back and started making some films again. So
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
I think your
excited about
films
that.
are, do you just bring such a great element because you bring in so much of your own culture into your work. And I feel like there's so much of porn, at least like maybe like in the 2000s, that was like, oh, I'm doing porn, I need to hide this from everyone. That you've really embraced like Mexican culture and it's just like so badass.
Yeah, no, I try to like bring like, you know, try to like bring that into my work because I feel like it you know, like I just want to like highlight like people of color and their
Hmm.
cultures and like how we have sex because you know like in certain communities it can be like really like in Mexican culture it could be very machista and like really
Hmm.
like and I wanted to show a side of 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 like my people, mi gente, like doing things. We're having sex. We're sensual. We're kinky. And like for me, that's important to like try to bring to the erotic table, so to
For
speak.
sure. Yeah, I feel like there's like probably in the last 10 years, I feel like there's so much more almost like personality in people's porn where you can really bring who you are entirely to it. Where before, I feel like in like the 2000s, at least from the outside view, mainstream porn was so kind of LA and glossy and was like, you don't want to know any of their backstory. These girls don't want to reveal it because it's like, oh, then everyone will find out, you know? I think now it's
Yeah.
just like really different.
Yeah, I feel like because like the nature of how we can create porn has changed, and the
Hmm.
internet has really catapulted a lot of us to be able to create our own content and market ourselves and speak to our audience directly. I think changes a lot than like when with like mainstream porn like being like things you could get on the at a porn store or attending some sex specific event, getting a
Yeah.
DVD.
Yeah. I feel like we've just seen it change so much, especially with trans stuff. Like, you went to the tranny awards with me, you know.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
just looking back at that, I'm just like, how was that a thing only like 8 years ago?
it's crazy because like I know some new performers that like are trying to convince me to go. I'm like, I'm too old for this kind of like social stuff, like I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
like I just don't have the energy anymore. I'm more like, like I'll do interviews when every now and then,
Yeah.
but like the social aspect, I think it was a little too much for me. I was like, ooh, it's a little messy over here, but it was a good time, and I appreciate the folks who like showed up and shared their work.
Yeah. I definitely felt like we had like a queer table there, being like, we're from the Bay, we're queer. And it was just like kind of us in the corner a little bit.
Yeah. And it's crazy because it's so different now. Like based on
Yeah.
how my friend describes it, there's way more like F2M performers.
Yeah.
There's more like trans femmes like doing their thing, not necessarily having to like pigeonhole themselves into these like awful categories, So
For real.
I'm glad it's changed, and I think partly of that change was our influence on them, and
Yeah.
especially you and Courtney talking to them about those problematic kind of categories. So
Yeah. I think it's like just queer porn's effect as a whole, just being like, oh, look at what we can do on our own, you know? And like, I think
yeah.
our presence, all of us going down there, was like, okay, it's not just one person who is like this. It's kind of a bigger thing. I just remember there was some website named something Tranny Whackers, and like that has never left my head. I'm like, I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means.
I know I don't even remember that, but it's funny because Trendy Records is very like, what?
I'm like, what does that even mean? I don't know. But
No.
I also feel like
I
we connected because you were the only person in the Bay Area I could talk about my love of corn with,
Yeah.
the band corn. And I'm like, oh, Ramses is down.
Yes, of course. And I think I took you to the upper floor for the first time too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, you did. We have so many
We have a lot of
yeah.
first things.
Yeah. We screened in Berlin together and then got lost in the Copenhagen airport
Oh my
together.
God. It's funny you mentioned Berlin because I just went this past year,
Oh
and
yeah, how was going back?
it was fun. I had a lot of fun. So when I was there, I didn't get to smoke any weed. While I was there, I only smoked weed when I was in Amsterdam. And
Oh yeah.
because I had a layover in Amsterdam. And when we got to Berlin, I was like telling my friend Duran, who joined me on this trip, I was like, when I came here the first time, we were trying to score some weed, and we were like, how do we do this? I was like, just go to the park. And we're like, park, and we're like just talking about how like spoiled we are because we can get it delivered. We can like
Yeah.
just pick it out on our phone, and then it just
Yeah.
shows up, and you know what you're getting. Like the quality. And here we're like, man, I haven't done this since I was like a teenager. Like,
I
what do we do? And I remember like us walking, and then like these guys would just like pop out of nowhere and be like, weed, cocaine. Like they're just listing
yeah.
off drugs. And I think you heard someone say weed and you stopped. And you're like, did you say weed? And
Yeah.
then I remember all we had to pay for it was like change, right?
Yeah, I just remember giving him like it was like
Like euros in
20
a
coins.
Ziploc bag. I remember when we pulled that out, I was like, don't judge, but this is more than what you're asking for. So you can keep the change. And then he whistled, and like five guys came out of like the trees and the bushes and looked at us and laughed. I was like, oh no. And then I was a little
Oh
nervous
my
because I'm
god, I
like, I know it's
forgot about
illegal
that.
here. I
Oh
know. And
my
then
god.
I remember him like laughing about it, and then like taking the money, and then digged into his crotch and pulled out the weed from under his nutsack. I was
Yeah, it was
like,
like
thank God this
literally in
thing is
his
wrapped in
crotch.
plastic. We had like Bammer ball weed.
Oh my god.
Oh my God.
I vaguely remember like I remember going there with Courtney before and me just like profusely sweating because I'm like, this is the sketchiest thing I've done in so long. But yeah, I completely forgot about that. But once you brought up the baggie of all the change and like him reaching under his balls to get it, yeah. Oh my god.
Oh my God. I
Oh
think
wow.
we were able to make like what, two joints out of what we got.
Like yeah, it was like barely any weed, and it was like so expensive. We're so
And then
spoiled in California.
and then we like later find out, I'm like, oh yeah, we know someone who can hook us up. And we're like, oh, had we known?
Oh yeah, I ultimately went to that hookup. Now we're talking about getting drugs in Berlin, but that's a very Berlin thing to talk about.
Yeah.
And I went to this person, I got it from another performer friend, and I was like, I just need to buy weed. And they're like, oh, they sell all sorts of stuff. So I went over, and then it just turns out I knew them from where I lived in Michigan.
Oh
And I was
wow.
like, wait,
Small
we're
world.
friends from like 10 years ago. He's like, yeah, I like work for a brewery here now because that's what we do in Michigan too. And he's like, oh yeah, I got you. I'm like, what?
That's
How am I on
crazy.
the other side of the planet and it's someone I know from like 12 years ago? It literally makes no sense.
The world can be small like that.
Yeah. So
But
I think it's really crazy just like how stuff's kind of reopening and getting to have these experiences again of all these festivals coming back. And
yeah.
it's just crazy that's such a global thing now.
Yeah, no, it's really I really appreciate I feel like a lot of my work has done the festival circuits
Hmm.
internationally, and like for some reason does really great abroad in like the most random countries I've never heard of.
For real.
But
For real.
I'm so down because I'm like always down to like expose folks to my artwork and the way I do erotic films. So it's exciting. I when I was in Berlin this past year, I shot two scenes, one with Nina Bembe and one with Bishop Black.
Oh, you're seeing with Bishop Black. Holy shit, it's so good. I've seen some previews for it.
Yeah, I just dropped a trailer on Valentine's Day. I swear I will have it up before the end of this month. I have a basically I have a 35-minute scene with him,
Wow.
and I'm gonna cut a 5 minute like festival cut of it so I can submit it to festivals. I try to do this thing where I have an extended version and a festival version, and the idea is like the festival version, like it gives people a taste of what the film's about,
Hmm.
and then you can then purchase the extended version with additional bonus scenes and get a little bit more than the 5 minutes.
Totally. Yeah, I think it's very strange because like most people on here don't know about the film festival circuit, so they're doing maybe like mainstream porn or just like porn in the States, and then they find out about it and they're like, wait, you can have cuts that are like already for film festivals specifically. It's just like
Hmm.
it's such a whole different world. And like for me at least, before I went to Berlin the first time, I was feeling super burnt out. I was definitely like, I don't know if I want to keep doing this forever. And then going to
Hmm.
that's just such a cool experience that you can see like everyone's porn and it's screening from like noon until midnight every single day in like 4 theaters.
I know this past year I like had two screenings that were like almost near midnight. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm jet lagged. I'm gonna make it to one of the three screenings because
It's also
the one
so
thing I
crazy. Oh,
oh yeah,
go
no, go
on.
for it. No, I was just saying I just need to remind myself to like give myself more time to adjust to the time change.
Oh yeah, that jet lag, it gets you.
Yeah. So what
um
were you saying?
it's just crazy, like every screening is like sold out essentially.
Yeah,
It's just
it is.
like I wish like AVN had something like that. I wish they had a screening component of it because like what Berlin has is so cool. And especially like
Yeah.
being up for like AVN awards and shit, you never get to see the other people who you're up against. So like
Yeah.
for a lot of people, I think they like internalize not winning or getting frustrated or whatever. But you don't even know what's beating you. It might be like one of your favorite pornos ever, you know?
Yeah.
Like I want to see all this other smut.
Yeah. No, that's great. Well, definitely come and check out the San Francisco Porn Film Fest. That's
Yeah.
going to be happening again this year in August.
Do you
And
know the venue
I
yet?
it's going to be at the Brava Theater. I'm
Oh,
the
nice.
technical director for the festival, so I'm in charge of like booking the venues and also like handling all the like the operations parts of it. So we already have our dates locked down for this year. It's going to be in August. August. Ooh, let me tell you. So that if
Is this
you want
breaking
us to,
news?
well, no, I mean, I think it's available. It's information you can find on
Oh,
our
okay.
on Film Freeway or our website.
Do you have any
Yeah. So
breaking news to share of the festival though?
the only breaking news I would say is like it's going to be August 18th and 19th in August and at the Bravo Theater, and submissions call for submissions open in April. So it'll be like a 2 week window where we really encourage locals to submit. Um, we want to like I think because of the we're coming out of the pandemic, a lot
Hmm.
the first year like it was a very low turnout because a lot of people were not going into public spaces just
Mm,
yet. And I think
yeah.
last year it was the first year where we started to see like a pickup in like attendance. So we're just trying to find creative ways to like just really get the word out and like get people to attend, like we
Yeah.
kind of like the hope is to like bring the vibe of Berlin Film Festival to the Bay. But I know it'll
Yeah.
take some years to like get to that point, but it would be I'm excited about it. So
I feel like there's starting to become more people making porn here again. Like it feels like it's kind of coming up from a more DIY level again.
mhm.
Where I feel like for a
I
while when Kink was here, I feel like there was a lot of people moving here to like become porn stars more than just being like, oh, this is what I want to do on my side thing, you know?
mhm. Yeah. I mean, do you feel like how do you feel like you're as far as like the pandemic has it impacted you as a performer in
Yeah,
any way?
I stopped performing for a year and a half.
Mhm.
I didn't want to get COVID and then I got COVID twice this year. So um,
Oh no, I got it
yeah.
once.
Yeah, the first time was really bad and then this last time, meh, it was whatever. But yeah, I mean, as you said, how you had to stop and like recalibrate everything, I needed to do that because I was basically always traveling since I moved to the Bay. I was always like, especially before getting in like a serious relationship, my view of
Mhm,
being in the Bay was I moved here to do porn. I moved here to do this, this, and this.
mhm,
So I think having all that stop for a minute and me be like, okay, you're in one place. You have to kind of figure out a life balance was
mhm.
really, really big for me. I think everyone kind of had to figure out some shit during the pandemic.
Yeah, it was crazy. Like not know. I think the craziest part of the shutdowns is just like not knowing what to expect or
For
how to
real.
plan for the future, you know? It was a blessing in disguise for me because I work a full-time job aside from like
Hmm.
my own art or creative work. And being able to like actually have a break during the holidays, not having to like be dealing with a bunch of people all the time,
Hmm.
really was a nice break for me. But it also got a little like I had to get creative with my time because we couldn't work with other people, but I still try to be creative
Hmm.
in during those shutdowns because like it was a way to keep your moral high.
For
You
real.
know,
You just
like
had to have things. Like once they started doing
I
the
mean,
virtual film festivals, I was at least like, okay, something is kind of happening now.
yeah, no, that was really great. That's how we launched the festival virtually for the first time, so that was really great. I think Shine really got into the broadcasting aspect of it, so really took the took the initiative to like learn those skills and
Hmm.
has been able to like create another sort of way of like um sustaining their like business and their and keep on being involved in the porn
Hmm.
industry, you know?
Yeah, I think it's just so cool that like the two big porn, like queer porn companies that were there when it started in like 2008, 2009 are still there. There's Trouble Films and Crash Pad are still around. I think it's just such a cool
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, it is. And I feel like I don't know if y'all have felt like the impact of the economy, but it's definitely affecting a lot of studios right now, you know? And so I'm curious to see I feel like the nature of people buying porn has kind of fluctuated a lot because it's
Mhm.
the inflation going up and like people losing work, you know, so finding ways to like make porn accessible for viewing, but also like how do you still make money? You know?
Yeah, I think for us, it's just this giant overhead here that
Hmm.
how much rent is. That's just kind of like the biggest thing where it's like it's stable, it's going fine and going good, and we're getting back into production. Um, yeah, we're like really starting to release more stuff. Because we had, yeah, we didn't shoot anything for like I think over a year as a company. So
Hmm.
we had a lot of leftover stuff from pre-COVID that we ended up releasing. But now it's like starting to pick back up, but it's just always gonna be the overhead of how much rent is here. If it's gonna go up again, everything's expensive here. As you as you
Hmm.
know, you live here. Um,
Yeah.
food's expensive, utilities are expensive. And I think that's like kind of the more overarching thing about kind of what made the porn scene here kind of start to disappear. And I think so many
Hmm.
things here disappear, so many communities, honestly, kind of the soul of what this area was about.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, I like it was I was bummed to find out that like Nightshade had to like was closing. I'm like, no. I
that place
have to
is
get I have to get one film in before they close. So I'll forever memorial. It'll be for it'll live forever in my film that I'm gonna release in October.
oh, really? Yeah, it was just
Yeah,
we shot two scenes in it for Chelsea Submits 2 that just came out too. So I'm like, I got two scenes in there. They're both in the movie.
yeah, no, that space is really awesome. I hope I really hope that that we can get a community back in the Bay, you know, like,
Yeah.
and I don't know what it's gonna take, but we're still here.
Yeah.
Some of us are still here, you know.
Yeah, I think I was talking to my fiance about this, that it's just like I feel like the way I view this city would be so different if it was affordable. So I honestly feel for the last like 6 years of living here, it's just being like, when is it going to be displacement essentially? Just because
Hmm.
how high the price of everything is. Where you go any other place and people are like, our rent's so expensive, and it's like half of what it is here, you know?
Yeah, dang, yeah. Um, hopefully there's a change, but I'm hanging in. I'm hanging in. We'll see. I'm right now, currently I'm working on starting my own series. Um, that is that does involve BDSM. It's called BDSM,
Hmm.
and I'm actually gonna,
BDSM.
yeah,
Oh my
BDSM.
God, I love that so much. That's so
Yeah,
clever.
yeah. I've shot 6 films for it so far, and the Hanky is the first one of that series. And then my scene with Lena, and then I shot a scene El um, with my friend Crystal. It was a rope bondage scene that I'm gonna
Mm.
do. I'm gonna release that one on in May. So I basically shot like 6 films, and I'm currently still editing and in post production with most of them. The Hanky's the first one that's almost ready, and my goal is to like kind of release them on a monthly. And then I do plan on putting on my own festival. It's going to be a
Oh
small
wow.
one. It's going to be a small 1 day festival and it's going to be called BDS Film Fest, and it's going to feature. Um, it's going to be a 1 day screening, but maybe like two programs
Mm.
in that day. And it's going to be like a collection of shorts that feature queer trans people of color doing BDSM scenes.
It's so
So
badass.
it's really focused on like centering people of color, Black sex workers to the forefront so that we can have like a night of watching films that are just artwork, erotic work created by Black and people of color. So I'm excited about that. I
Are you gonna
feel
do that in
like
the East Bay or the city?
I'm thinking of actually hosting it in the East Bay because I feel
Nice.
like that's kind of like where a lot of us live, and
Hmm.
can still afford to be here. So um, I, I I'm still looking at a couple of venues, but Parkway is one of the venues I'm
Oh,
looking
that would be
to
so
host it at.
badass.
So I have, yeah, and I've hosted a screening there before, so I'm hoping I can make that happen. Hopefully in September, like right before Folsom weekend. So
Oh wow, it's so
stay
awesome.
posted, stay posted
Yeah.
on that.
I think it's just
Um,
so important that there's just like more important stuff happening here. Because like there's a lot of performers here, but I feel like it's not so much something that like the general public is as aware of as it was, 10 years ago.
yeah, and it's hard because we don't have those iconic spaces like
Hmm.
the Center for Sex and Culture. It's like I miss play parties. I miss
Yeah.
like the fun dance parties. It's just not the same. Like it's just everyone's like way younger and stuff, and I'm like, oh wow, where did all the homies go? So um, it's been nice to like kind of find community online and like connect with folks. I recently shot a scene with Color Block Films, and it's been cool to like collaborate with other creators and helping each other with our work.
Yeah. I think that's kind of like the best thing about porn now because when we were going to like the tranny awards and shit, like it was still so much about getting hired by a studio and that's how you get work. And now it's
Yeah,
really as long as you have at least a new iPhone, you can make porn on your own?
yeah, yeah. No, and I'm my hope is with the festival that I put on that really kind of like encourages folks to like create their own stuff. I'm even
Yeah,
considering having like a contest element, because I want to really encourage people to like, if you have a phone, you can make whatever you want. Like
for sure.
the phones these days are like way better than like the like thousands of dollar camera DSLR cameras we bought.
Yeah, it's really crazy to like we had a thing on set where I think it was Courtney forgot their memory card, and I was like, "Oh, I have a new iPhone. It's fine." And then we shot it, and you couldn't even tell the difference. It's just like
Yeah, it's crazy.
crazy.
you know, um, some people start with camcorders, and now here we
Yeah.
are. We got in our palm of our hands. We can. be in a film festival, be making a film, be like connecting with
You
your
can win an
audience
award
directly.
with your
Yeah.
iPhone. It's so crazy to think about that. I think that's kind of one of the coolest things about doing film festivals and stuff is that you're like shooting it on your camera or whatever, and then it's on your computer and you're just working on it in your bedroom, and then a whole theater of people get to see it someday, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's
No,
really
that's
crazy to think about that.
yeah, no, it's pretty awesome. And like, I don't know, I feel like I think what I love about film festivals has been like just the community you can create in meeting folks, like that you don't get in other kind of arenas, like
Yeah. I love the reactions from the audiences to porn.
yes. When
Whenever I
I
can get
go
a gasp, especially in Berlin, because those people are into really kinky shit. Like I did a sneaker scene where I was licking Felicia Fisher's sneaker, and people were like, I'm
uh
like, that's the best.
yeah, like yeah, no. I think whenever I go or do a Q&A for a screening of mine, I like to hang in the back because I want to watch. I'm watching the audience because I've seen my film like 10 million times. I'm like,
Hmm.
I know what's gonna happen. Like, so I'm here just watching to see where people laugh, where people like react, because it kind of like informs me of like what like it reaffirms like kind of like, oh yes, this is exactly what I wanted, or like, oh cool, like people found that funny, like
I
so
feel like
it's my favorite part.
whenever I go to a screening and people laugh, I'm just like, I just need to make this straight comedy. And I'm like, no, I don't. But it feels good in the moment where you're like, wow, it's a room full of people laughing at some dumb joke that was in a porno.
I know, I'm like, but
Yeah, I haven't gone to any festivals since the pandemic, so I'm hoping to probably do that this fall maybe.
yeah, are you gonna submit your Chelsea submits too?
Something I'll submit. So I just shot a public disgrace style dinner party scene like
Oh
last
nice.
month. So
Where
I
did
want
we're
to
at?
definitely we did it at Blackthorn. You've been to Blackthorn, right?
No, I don't think I have.
So
I've
it
heard of
oh,
Blackthorn.
the place that you helped me move into in East Oakland, it's like 3 blocks from there.
Oh, really? Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Originally I
Is
started working
Blackthorn
there.
is Blackthorn like a dungeon space?
Yeah, it's a whole like Victorian house that's a dungeon, and then there's a back house that's another dungeon.
Oh,
It's
dope.
so big, and they're like doing all this construction and making their whole basement another one.
Oh, dope.
And their like rates are really affordable. And they really let you do whatever you want. So we did this whole scene. I think,
Public disgrace style.
yeah. So yeah, we did that. And then like I think we were trying to get 11 people, and then 4 people canceled the day of. And when you're planning, I was producing it and performing in it. So a little bit of a
I
stressful
know that.
day, but we got, I think it was 8 people total. So it was like, I was concerned at first, but then on footage, it's like, wow, that's a lot of people there, you know?
Yeah, you
And
can make a lot of people. You can make a scene look busy with a
yeah,
few
for
people.
sure. So I was sorry, like bought this cake before. I'm like, oh, we'll do some light splashing. But I didn't realize because everyone there was queer and trans, there was a lot of enthusiasm. So it was like 3 full cakes on my face and tits. And it was like just too much that after I was like, I had like cake in my ears for like 2 or 3 days afterwards. It was
Oh
not,
no.
that was not the fun part.
Oh no.
One of the first things you showed me was something you shot at the armory that was also similarly very cake related.
Yes, it was my birthday gangbang.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I had my 30th birthday gangbang at the upper floor. Thanks to the host of the upper floor for letting me use that space for free. And
Stefano.
yeah, Stefano. And my friend, I like, and I shot just for like memories. I never have released this film to the public. No one has seen it, but like the few people I showed it to.
It's
So
fucking good.
I know I
It's
was
so
watching it the other,
good.
I was watching it the other day, and I was like, dang, like I need to like figure out how I can like blur out everyone's face that I don't have like I there's because the only reason I haven't released it is because a lot of the people who were in that film like were friends that are not in
Mhm.
the industry and like probably don't want their face to be associated with like sex
Yeah.
related stuff. So that's the only reason I never released it. But like there are little snippets where it's just like my friends who are performers who did consent to being on camera. Um, but I think I think maybe one of these days I'll like get around to it and release it at a special screening or something for BDSM Fest or something.
You got like
Because it
fisted
was
by cake, right? Or it was something like
oh
very
oh
problematic that like in the scene I see you be like, no.
yeah, no, like that's one thing I have to like now forever like have as a hard limit, like no sugar by my pussy because I can't
Yeah.
get no yeast infections. But I remember like Bianca Stone like smearing first like smearing cake on me and then like getting it on me to lick it off of me, and I was like, no. I felt like I truly felt the terror in that scene because I was like, oh no, I'm gonna get a yeast infection.
Before my scene, I was like, because I remember that happening in your movie, I was like, I can't have anything below my waist. If I get one thing below my waist, we're stopping the scene.
And it was chocolate cake on top of that. Like, oh my goodness.
The
Oh
meanest
man, that's
thing,
what
so oh, go on.
you're no, tell me what's the
Okay,
meanest
so the
thing.
meanest thing during my public disgrace scene is one of like the extras. I had chocolate syrup, and because I have red hair, they used the strawberry syrup and they put it in my fucking roots. Because they're like, let me touch up your roots. And I was literally taking a shower afterwards. It was just like globs of fucking strawberry syrup coming out.
Oh no, your scalp was stained red from the
Yeah,
syrup.
it sucked. That was
Oh
like the
no.
worst part of the scene. Everything else, I'm like, I can handle getting banged on a table. That's fine. Getting flogged publicly is fine. But that was the part where I'm like, that's too mean.
Yeah. Oh great. I would look forward to seeing this scene then. Did
Yeah,
you
I'll definitely
perform
send you a copy.
was it just you or was it like another scene partner or was it kind of like you were there? Like what was the
I
premise?
was I was like the sub. It was like a dinner party thing.
Hmm.
And Ruby Riots was the main dominant. And then do you know Lux Fury?
I think so.
Yeah, they were like the second dominant. And then we had a bunch of
Okay.
extras, and yeah, it was super fun. And then I actually flew out to Vegas recently to do the actual public disgrace with Princess Donna, but it ended up getting canceled last minute. So I kind of had
Oh
a forced
no.
vacation in Vegas. So I'm
Oh,
like,
that's
I
nice.
can't be that mad about being like, okay, the universe forced me to have a vacation in Vegas. Okay. It's fine.
Oh, yeah, no, that's great. Have you shot with any what have you shot with any performers in Vegas?
On that trip, I had two shoots planned. I was doing a content trade with them and a public disgrace scene, and it
Hmm.
both ended up getting canceled. So I was like, I don't want to rush in a 2 day span and be like, I need to figure out content. I'm just like, I'm just gonna try to hustle some cam sessions and you know
Yeah.
enjoy Vegas. I saw the Gaga exhibit, blew my fucking mind. They
Oh,
had
cool. I didn't know
they
there
had
was.
they had her blood soaked VMAs performance
Oh,
outfit there.
cool.
I was freaking out. I could have been the tour guide. I was like going around being like, this is actually from this performance and this was created by this person. It was a lot. My
Oh, that's
fiance was
cool.
like, you obviously know more than the people who work here right now. I'm like, it's probably true.
I know. I remember that VMA performance. I was really impressed. I was like, ah, she's cool.
She's so cool. And like that people were like, do you have a penis? And she's like, it doesn't matter. I'm like, that's so
Yeah.
badass.
Yeah.
So I have a few more questions for you left. I've had such a great time reminiscing about all this queer porn stuff. I feel like we really covered the history of queer porn.
Yeah. No, I've been enjoying this as well. So
Likewise. Yeah. So you've been in this industry for like 10, 11 years now, right?
yeah,
That's both of us are like very seasoned veterans in porn now. I feel like anything
yeah.
over a year and a half, you're like an old person now.
I know
So
we're like definitely a generation of performers because there's a lot of like new performers now that I have yet to meet that like I'm like, oh wow, you're doing some awesome stuff. That's really great.
yeah, I feel like now it's especially going to the last AVN, it was like 20% trans people there now.
Oh, dope.
It's fucking crazy. I'm like, other than a pride event, I haven't seen that many trans people in one place before.
Oh, that's
And
dope. How was it for you?
oh, it was great. I mean, we lost, so that's a little disappointing. But
Uh, uh,
yeah, we were
was it fun?
there.
But how was it organized like in comparison to the T Awards?
Oh, it's like way more put together. Also, this year was the first at the new venue. It's at Resorts World in Vegas now.
Hmm.
So it's like a way bigger venue. The award show was in the same theater Katy Perry performs at.
Oh, cool.
So it was like really big and stuff. It was really great. Kieran Noir won performer of the year, which was like a super great moment. Also, probably should have been another performer before her being the first Black performer of the year to ever win. That probably should
Hmm.
have happened more than 40 years in because it was the 40th anniversary.
Oh dear.
Yeah, right. So it was like
Yeah.
obviously a great moment. I know her personally, and I'm like super happy for her, and she deserves it a million fucking percent. But it's also like that probably should have happened sooner.
Hmm.
Um, but they really expanded the awards for so not only can trans people get nominated for like non-trans awards now. So like I
That's
was nominated
dope.
with the East Bay Brats for best BDSM film, and there's like been other people up for different stuff. They also expanded the trans awards, so there's like best lesbian scene, best like straight scene, best threesome. They have a best new trans newcomer award, so they have like the essentially a starlet award for trans porn now, so it's
Now,
really expanded.
do they like do they define it? Is it trans all encompassing, like trans masculine and femme, or is it
Yes,
mostly trans femme centered?
it's still mostly trans femme, so kind of like what happened before with both Buck Angel and James Darling, where they're like the one trans guy being nominated. That's still kind of the thing. But at the Gavian Awards, which is like the gay side of the industry, so meaning like just gay male porn,
Okay,
there's an FTM award there for a
I didn't
trans
even know
guy.
that.
Yeah, we
Look, this is so hot out of the loop I am these days because I do like more artsy films
yeah.
these days. So like, I didn't even realize there was a gay VN.
Yeah, it's usually a different weekend, but this time they did it the same week, and I just so happened to chat up when I was getting my tickets. The person who was doing the sign in for Gavian, we started talking, and then I was like, "Oh, is Kim Petras or someone like performing?" And they're like, "No." And they're like, "I don't know who Kim Petras is, but I know sports." And I'm like, "Oh, I do a college football podcast." And he's like, "Oh, wow." And then gave us all free tickets for Trouble Films. So we ended up going,
Oh,
and it was
cool.
really, really cool. I don't know very much about gay porn, it turns out. It's just like a completely different world. It was really fun though. It was like way less serious. Everyone's dressed way better than AVN.
I
Also,
wouldn't.
it's
I'm
just
not
like
surprised.
more generally gay. Like the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence were there and were like honored for
Mhm.
a Hall of Fame thing. So it was like a really cool experience overall.
How
But
was
yeah,
it like
just so many trans
diversity
people.
wise?
I think it's getting better, but it's still very white and very hetero and very cis. Like my partner and I think we were one of like three lesbian couples the whole night. Where it's just like, oh, there's not very many of us. But I think porn's just becoming more international now, where we really met people from around the world. We met a performer from Taiwan, we met a performer from France, we met people from like all across the states. There's been like performers from like Eastern Europe. So it's like becoming more and more diverse, but I think there's still a long ways to go when you do have the first Black woman winning performer of the year 40 years in. Obviously, it's
Yeah.
going in the right direction, but that's not a good thing.
Yeah. No, I agree. Well, hopefully, we'll start to see more folks of color getting featured and centered, in
For sure.
porn.
Yeah, I
And
mean, I think porn is like the stuff being made is generally going in a better direction. I think it's definitely becoming more artistic. Whereas 10
mhm,
years ago, I felt like it was very much some white straight guy with a camera being like, I know what sells, you know?
yeah. Yeah, and I feel like also like I think like the porn industry in Europe is really different than like the mainstream porn industry here in the US because
Hmm.
it does have more of like that artsy vibe to
Hmm.
it, like more of like the intention and bringing different sort of elements, not just like straight up like tropes being recreated, you
Yeah.
know?
I do have to say, like, in the United States porn industry, well, I guess he's Canadian, but what Ricky Greenwood is making right now is just so arty and like literally making films out of porn. And even like what
Hmm.
Caden Cross is doing right now, I think like at the highest level, I think porn is in definitely a more artistic direction where
Hmm.
like you can actually get stuff out of it as a film, where definitely like in trans porn 10 years ago, it was literally like you need to do this, this, and this, or a guy can't come, you know, where it's like you need to masturbate this hard and you need to get this hard and then you need to suck on a dildo for 90 seconds. And
Yeah,
we need to get this angle. Oh, so the question I was gonna ask you before we got distracted on that, but I
I
guess
know,
that's
I'm
what a
sorry.
podcast is just us going down distracting rants about porn. And I guess that's kind of
Hmm.
what porn is too.
Hmm.
So you've been in porn for 11 years, seasoned veteran now. We're old people in porn. What do you want to still do that you haven't so far?
Oh shit. You know, let's see. Let's see. I'm trying to think because, like, the one thing here's my predicament I've noticed in my scenes that I try to do and collaborate for BDSM is that, like, we may like plan to like do a certain dynamic, but
Hmm.
when it comes to the day of the shoot, I always get put in like a top position, like a top role or a dominant role. And so I haven't really gotten to explore too much of my submissive side in the sense where I haven't had like a good traditional like femdom like fuck me up, you know? And you would think that's the first thing I would do, you know, but I haven't had that opportunity yet. So I'm putting it out there if any femdoms want to hit me up, especially femdoms of color.
I'm like, if
Let
you
me
need
know.
anyone to shoot that, I'm like, Courtney and I will do that tomorrow for you. I'm like,
I know.
anyone you find to beat you up, we got you.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, and that's the one thing I haven't done. I'm trying to think if there's anything specific. I've been doing a lot. I've been bottoming a lot in bondage, which
Mm.
it was specifically with rope suspension. It's like a thing I love, and I think I've been lucky to meet a couple of rope tops that are queer trans of people of color who are really talented and really great. Um, but they're all really far away from me. They're not local. So um, I think I wish I had more of a community around that, like so I could explore that more and like get be a better rope bottom in that regard, you know. So I'm hoping to get a chance to do more of that. I do have one film coming out on my birthday that's going to be called The Pinata,
Oh my
where I
God.
I get turned into a pinata and get suspended and yeah,
Damn,
get hit.
that's so good.
Yeah, so and that one I'm excited because I'm actually gonna like do the music for it. So I'm gonna like try to remix Las Mañanitas into it and this like electronic kind of beat track. So that one I'm looking forward to editing. So
I feel like all the
yeah.
music in your porn is always so good. Like it always fits the vibe so well.
I know, and right now I'm struggling. So if you know any musicians, hit me up.
I know. I feel that. I
Because
I
I'm a little tired of doing all the hats.
yeah, I feel like that happens when you're like go through all your music friends where you're like, "Oh, you did a movie for me already." And then at some point you're like, "I don't know anyone who makes music anymore."
I know, and it's funny because like the first two films I did, like Besos de Mazapan and Pain
Hmm.
Dulce, I was fortunate that my co-star is a very talented musician with amazing voice and amazing ability
Extremely
to create.
talented.
Yeah, extremely talented, and like I was fortunate to be able to like use two, like three songs for like two of my films by Tenoch El Güero. But right now I'm trying to like I'm struggling to try to like because I used to make beats, but like it's been a minute and I gotta like I had to dust off my like my little like controller to use with Ableton. I don't even have time to do this.
That's how I feel about the intro for the podcast, the music. I was like, I don't have the time for this. And my
Yeah.
fiance is like, I'll just fuck around with GarageBand. I'll make you one. I'm like, okay, thanks. And then they got it. I'm like, okay, perfect.
That's great. That's how I made my intro. Uh, how I do my intros using GarageBand because like it makes it really easy to like kind of edit audio on there. So
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I know people trash GarageBand and iMovie a lot, but you can get things done on it. Like,
yeah, is it like I feel like you can use the Clips app on your iPhone and make
yeah.
something pretty easily. You just need something that can like help you like cut through your timeline.
Hmm. I feel like it's just like such a thing that's just like go out and just do it. Like I think there's a lot of people with art that think they have to get like the new camera or have to have Premiere Pro to edit something. It's like you can just do it on your own and it's probably gonna be pretty good.
Yeah. And like people like it's funny because I've seen like people like reach out to us via email at the porn film fest, like,
Hmm.
hey, I'm so and so, I want to like get into the I want to make sex films, and
Yeah, for
you
sure.
and you were like, then go do it. You got a camera, pick it up and do it. And then look, keep an eye out for when we put out calls for submissions, like honestly, like the only thing keeping you from doing porn is like just you pulling out your camera and just
For
hitting
real.
record.
Yeah, it really is. And I think for like so many people they're like expect someone to get them into the industry. And it's just like the most sustainable way to have a porn career is start doing on your own, start shooting solo stuff. If you have a friend who also wants to do porn, shoot porn together. Like just really make the steps because that's how you're gonna get better.
Yeah, yeah, and I know it's hard for folks who might not have like a filmmaking background, but like you, there are like stuff tutorials online you can follow really easily.
Yeah, I also think it's just useful to fuck around with stuff and then you're going to come up with whatever your style is from that. Like,
Yeah,
just like if you have a guitar and you're like, just fuck around with it enough, I think you'll figure something out, you know?
yeah. Oh, but yeah, I know we're like it's like we're at an hour point, so I
Yeah.
wasn't sure if you wanted to.
Yeah, I have one final question for you.
Okay, cool.
So you know. So this is my only BuzzFeedy kind of bullshit question. I don't do this sort of shit usually, but this is the only one. Let's say you wake up tomorrow morning, one thing important could magically be changed. What would you have it be?
One one thing magically can change.
In porn,
Damn, it's a
yes.
real in porn. Oh, okay.
Yes.
So that's more
Oh, I mean,
specific.
I guess if you want to
And
extrapolate out
lie.
to the rest of the world,
I was like abolish prisons. I don't know, like
capitalism's gone.
God, like not having to work to live.
For real.
Okay, one thing I could change about porn,
Yes.
magically change about
I can also give
porn.
you my answer if
Yeah, I
you
want to
want to
hear what
buy
you say.
time. So I feel like if we had a standardized testing system that is
Mhm.
free for performers and I don't want it run by the government, but in a way, I feel like if the government could be trusted, if you could just go to a clinic that's in every city, whatever city's health clinic, and just get tested and get your results back in 24 hours, like you do through talent testing, and not have to pay over $200 to get swabs and shit,
Yeah.
that's where I'd have it be, just because there's so many issues now arising with content trade, which I think's great. And it
Mhm.
gets it away from these studios and I think makes porn more inclusive and just like better porn and more authentic porn. But with that, people are either having to fake test because they can't afford to be out of work for a week because they paid $200 for a failed test or whatever else. Like, I just think it needs to be free. I think someone needs to step in and really take care of it.
Yeah, no, that's a great thing to make accessible. Um, I'm trying to think. Dang, okay. That was a really like that's a good one. I was like,
I've also answered this question like 50 times now. So
what would I change? I just wish um I wish the access to like being able to like host our own sites and have payment processors
hmm
not be so fucking biased would be nice,
hmm
because it sucks that we have to like jump through hoops to like be able to like host our stuff and collect our like profits
Yeah.
directly and not fear it being compromised because some entity is trying to morally bust us or something.
hmm
So I would I would pray for the financial business to not be so moralistic in that way where they make it hard for us to have access to our own money and get paid for our work. I
Yeah,
think
I
that's what
think
I would
it's
change.
just like we're still so criminalized in this country, even if you're doing legal sex work and you're still paying taxes. It's just really ridiculous that banks can seize your accounts at any moment, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. So I would like that to change
Yeah, for sure.
tomorrow.
I'm like, do you also have your PayPal account taken, I'm assuming?
No, actually, I
Oh,
haven't used
nice.
I haven't used my PayPal. I actually haven't used PayPal because I know of friends having experienced that. So
Yeah.
I kind of like I'm very careful in that regard,
hmm
and I just haven't. I'm not doing. I do a lot of my basically a lot of my artwork is more for like getting it out there,
hmm
and so at the, at that expense, I've tried to make it accessible to
Yeah.
people, like small film festivals. I don't charge a screening fee for them. I just hope that they like really promote like my studio, and hopefully people then see my work and want to know more, see the extended versions.
Yeah.
So I've been sticking to like pink label TV for like most of the sales of my stuff,
hmm
and or working directly, with folks. But yeah, mostly that's why I would want that to change because I would be
Yeah.
probably making more money if I could.
For
I just
sure.
don't want to. I try to be careful financially with all those things.
Yeah, I think that's a really good thing to change. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I had so much fun talking and reminiscing about the last 10 years of queer porn, essentially.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun.
Where can
Uh,
everyone find you on social media?
on Twitter, you can find me at Ramses Rodstein. You can also find my films at Pink Label TV under Ramses Rodstein's films. I have a website, ramsesrodstein.com, that I haven't updated in about 10 years. So you can go look at my vintage Ramses over there. But it's more of like I am in the process of revamping my site and releasing BDSthem.com soon. So keep posted. And then, yeah, I think I don't really have an IG for my performer. I just have my personal one. So sometimes I'll announce performer related things on a secret friends group on IG stories. Because you
I'm
know
glad
how
I'm on
IG
the
is.
secret fan group. So
Yeah, yeah. It's basically my secret friend group amidst all of my family and coworkers.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I hope you have a nice rest of your day, and bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.